Hi, today I want to talk about the work of the Herman Miller Company. Herman Miller is a long-established furniture company based in Holland, Michigan, that at the moment make office and healthcare furniture. They've been in business for a long time, and they have at various stages of their history also made domestic furniture. But it's the office furniture market that they're predominantly active in these days. Very long-established company, but actually an interesting pioneer in design and the connection between design and technology in this particular business. And that's really the important thing about the company and why they're an interesting case study to look at. The first phase of their activities in design really centre around the 1960s, when, amongst others, they employed Charles and Ray Eames as one of their designers, as two of their designers, and the Eames produced all sorts of interesting furniture for Herman Miller. One of the Eames' activities during the war was to get involved with the production of plywood splints for the US Army. And to do this, they had to develop all sorts of techniques for manipulating plywood, making three-dimensional shapes out of plywood, so that they could accommodate the limbs of servicemen. And they went on from that experience after the war to develop for Herman Miller a range of moulded plywood furniture that we think of now as iconic mid-century designs. So different forms of a plywood chair that existed for different purposes, and also other kind of investigations in the use of materials which were not commonly associated with furniture manufacture at that time. So they were among the first designers, and Herman Miller was among the first companies to use fiberglass as a material for making chairs. And these fiberglass chairs went on to become moulded in other plastics as the injection moulding technology developed. This is the Eames designed lounge chair, which is again one of Herman Miller's iconic products, been in production now for almost 50 years. And it's something that, interestingly, when people first sit down in this, they say, this isn't actually terribly comfortable to relax in. And that's because it's actually not been designed for relaxing in. It's been designed for reading. So when you lie back in it, it actually forces your head forward, so that rather than just sinking back into the cushions, you're actually in exactly the right position to read a book. And that's the function of the chair. They went on from those chairs to produce a range of office furniture in cast aluminium with leather and mesh and so on, and up to including a whole series of office environments that started off with the traditional kind of cube environments, but went on to develop all sorts of interesting approaches to structuring space for working in an office. A particular product I want to look at is the Aeron chair. The Aeron chair was designed by Jeff Weber and Bill Stumpf, and this is a chair design that was really motivated by looking at the needs of people who spend a long time sitting in chairs in offices. And until the Aeron existed, the conventional office chair, particularly for senior executives, was something which was foam rubber or foam plastic covered in leather. If you sat in one of those for a whole day, then you'd get a bit sweaty and wriggle around to try and get comfortable. So the original motivation for the Aeron was to look at ways of helping office workers sweat less and be more comfortable in their seats. So they constructed the seat and the back out of nylon mesh. So it allowed a great deal of airflow to go to the back of the person sitting in it. It also had a lot more adjustments than conventional office chairs, and it had suspension built into it and so on. So you could adjust the position of everything so that it was right for you, and you could adjust height and range of movement and so on. When they finished the design, they needed to test it with the kind of people it was targeted at. So Herman Miller Company started doing user tests with the kind of people who would buy or use these kind of office products. And what was interesting about the tests was that people reacted very negatively to the design. Somehow they didn't like the fact that it looked different. It looked very spare and skeletal. It looked unfamiliar to them. It looked more like a machine than something you would relax in. And that perception of what the chair looked like was something that coloured their judgments about how comfortable it was. So somehow they couldn't get past the original impression to really give any feedback to the company and the designers about whether or not the chair was actually comfortable to sit in. And the way they got around this was to cover the chairs with a dust sheet so that people couldn't see what they looked like, but they just experienced the activity of sitting down in them. Then they started to get much more positive responses and so on. And gradually, as people felt they'd had a positive response, then when they saw the chair without the dust sheet, they didn't feel the same way about it. So thankfully, for all of us, the company persisted with the user testing and the design and development of the chair beyond the initial negative reactions that they were getting. The Aeron chair came onto the market in 3 different sizes. It was extremely popular. It was very expensive, but it was extremely popular because it worked. And it became the iconic office product for the dot-com era. This was the seat that people sat in to play office hockey. It was the one that determined, getting an Aeron chair determined that you'd arrive within the organisation, within the company, and so on. So it's used in all sorts of different ways and developed in other ways. We're never quite sure whether this is an actual product, the Aeron Love Seat, or whether it's just something that somebody photoshopped together for a joke. They went on from developing the Aeron chair to developing the Mira. And one of the things that started to become more significant with the Mira was the company's use of recycled and recyclable materials. So probably because office furniture companies are very closely connected with achieving LEED status for architects, they're really in the vanguard of looking at the environmentally responsible ways of constructing furniture. So using materials which have been and can be recycled, producing designs which can be taken apart for recycling conveniently and easily. That's a process that started with the Aeron and has continued through the whole of Herman Miller's product range. The Mira had some advantages over the Aeron because it was cheaper, it was a bit more adjustable, and so it only came in one size rather than 3, so that reduced the amount of stock that the manufacturers and retailers needed to handle. And this is Herman Miller's latest chair, the Embody. The design of this was actually started by Bill Stumpf and Jeff Weber, but continued after Bill Stumpf's death a couple of years ago with the design office of the company, and was released to the technical press and the contract furniture industry in the trade exhibition in Cologne this year. It has a lot more adjustments than the Aeron. It has a lot more adjustments for comfort and ventilation and lumbar support and so on. It's another jump up in price, but a significant increase in performance. Thank you.